I'm going to start with a light sketch first. I'm just using a white pastel pencil here. This side we're going to put some down there. I'm using a pale grey Canson Metont paper. I'm using the smooth side. I'm just going to lightly, just roughly sketch out roughly where I want these snowdrops to go to. A couple of leaves and a rough shape of where the heads are going to go. Some leaves going this way. Don't have to be too accurate or detailed at this stage. I have one. Go for odd numbers. 5, I think. And a couple of leaves, and we'll have some of these that come lower down here. Okay, so just a very light, very quick, loose sketch on there. I'm going to start with the background and work my way forward. So I've got the sketch there. I'm going to put snow. It's going to be all snow down here, and then we want quite a dark background behind the flowers so that the snowdrops stand out nicely. So work in the background, forget the flowers for now. I'm going to work in the background. I've got the lighter green here. I'm going to lay it on its side and scribble that on like that. I'm going for a mottled background. And roughly, I'm going right up to the snowdrops. I'm going across the stalks there, if you notice. Right up to the snowdrops, like this. I don't need to do this solidly. I'm going quite patchy like that. I'm going to put a couple of colours down in one go though. So that's the lighter green. I've got a darker green here. Again, I'm just going to put around there. Be a little bit careful around these flowers, you don't want to lose them all. Keep it quite patchy. What I really don't want to do is go round, perfectly round all of these flowers, because you will just see an outline right around the flowers. I'm going to darken the greens. It's a yellow, pale yellow in there. See, quite camouflage, all quite patchy, put down all in one go. And then I'm just going to wipe my fingers on a piece of kitchen roll. As long as I keep them white, they'll be fine. And using all of my fingers, see the flat of my fingers, I'm just lightly doing this, I am not pressing on. And if you notice, I'm randomly blending that in. I'm just going to push that into the grain of the paper. I can just be a little bit careful around these flowers, but it doesn't matter if you go over them a little bit. Now that there is a little bit too black, so what I'm going to do is add some more green over the top. Maybe even a touch of a lighter green, and just lightly blend it, bring it together like that. Using the white, I can add little touches and just dab like this, and hopefully they shall start to add to the suggestion of more snowdrops in soft focus in the background. Tickle them on lightly and just dab and keep wiping those fingers. So now what I can do, I have lost a little bit of my snowdrops on here, but it doesn't matter, I still can see where they are. If you want to keep nice white pastels, what I do is rub out the green, the dark green. If I want them to stay, if I want some areas of these to stay nice and white, our best way to keep white is to start with clean paper. So I'm just going to do that, rub them out. Especially that one with a little bit of black in the middle. This is just a pencil and a pencil eraser. If you decide you want to add any more snowdrops in at this stage, you can do. I don't think that one was there originally, but you can just add in there. Right, so now with the white pastel, I'm going to rest my hand on the paper where there's no pastel here. I can rest my hand there, and using the point of the pastel, I can add in the white. Point of the pastel here, and a little bit there. That finger, just going to make sure there's no green, there's green on the finger, there's no green dust on there, so that will be fine for me to blend that in like that. One. Little teardrop there. Little teardrop there, and I'm just stroking that like that. If you find you've got a little bit of fuzz just outside, just very gently go around it like that, tidy it up. Little teardrop there, little teardrop there, and a little bit of something in the middle, like that. A more open one, I think, here. Teardrop, teardrop, bit of something in the middle. Just push them. I'm wiping my finger every time, wiping my finger. One. Teardrop and a bit of a dot in the middle. Okay, this is a tool called a blender, and this is used for when your fingers are too fat to get into a little area for blending. And this, if you need to tidy up these edges, just going to rub round like this. If you haven't got one of these, you can just go around and be a little bit more precise with the pastel like that. But these are good for actually getting some colour. So what I'm going to do is I call it a dust pile. And if you can just, I'll push it there. Call it a dust pile. Just going to put some colour on there, on the edge of your paper or on your tape. I can load this with colour by rubbing it into that, and that now will add on the green. You can draw with it like a pen. Load. Let's come back and draw. So you can actually get quite precise with these. Make a bigger petal. And this is what, see there, we've just got a big white blob. If I do that, I can start to separate those petals. I can add some shade down the length of the petals. Very quickly adds a detail into there for you. If you go too far over an edge, I can easily extend that. Again, go back on with the white pastel. Looking at the edges, shaping the very middle on there. You do have to keep reloading your dust pile with a bit of pastel. Just scribbled some more onto there, and I can come onto here and add more. So I'm actually doing the gaps between the petals, and then I'm adding in maybe a stripe or something on the back of the petals, so they're not just pure white. This is a really good way of adding just a touch of colour. I'm going to change the colour. I'm actually going to go with a little bit of the grey onto there as well. Make it a green grey. So it's a little bit darker, a little just touch onto there. Grab the colour and let's deposit it on here. See how much darker that little one's going to be. Grab the colour and let's put some on here. Edge of that one's a little bit sort of fuzzy, so I'm just going to come back round it with the white Conte, the white pastel, like that. And in the middle of these, they have quite a green little heart shape in there. I suppose there's lots of different types of snowdrops. I've probably just developed my own brand, my own new strain of them. Alright, so that's those. And then what we need is some stalks on there. So, they have, get a colour that shows, they have a little bulbous bit at the top of all their flower heads. Some places the bulbous bit here might not show if it's too pale, if it's too dark, so you choose an appropriate colour. This one I've gone with dark green, depends how dark you've done your background. If it doesn't show, try the lighter green. Little bulbous bit on each one. Little bulbous bit needs a shadow. I might just put a little bit of black, a little line of black on one, maybe one side or towards the middle. Needs a shadow, and very simply needs a highlight. So I've got pale black for the shadow, pale yellow for the highlight. I'm using the point of the pastel, just pressing and pushing like that so that it stands out. And then, so they have this bulbous bit. I'm going to do it in yellow so that you can see. From there, you get a little tiny bend, and then there's the leaf comes like straight beyond it like that. and does that kind of thing. Okay, so if you look at them, you'll see they've got a tiny little, very fine little line like that, and then the leaf comes beyond it. So that's just drawing them out, but these need fattening up. So come to a point and they get quite reasonably fat as they come down there. I'm just doing this in yellow for now. And of course we need a couple of little leaves. I'm going from that to a point and just thickening it up towards the bottom. Just thickening it up like that. How many more shall we have? One more, I think, in there. So that's just plotting out the leaves. And then what I need to do is get some nice greens on there. I'm using the side of the pastel here. See, it's going side on. I find I do straighter lines better side on like this. Just putting a bit of green into all of those. Don't have to be too precise at this stage. Bit of green. Darker green. Let's add some shadows in here. So, in there. I'm going to go, so I'm going up and down. I'm following the shape and direction of the leaf. Go up and down like this. Up and down. And all I'm going to do is just use my finger and run up that stalk once. Wipe your finger. I can start from the top and come down the stalk if I prefer. Careful where these stalks cross. If you notice, I'm wiping my finger every time. Like that. Bit of shadow. And it's up to you. Where do you need? Again, it depends how dark you've done your background and how light you've done this area as to how much dark and light and where you need it on these leaves. A bit more, a little bit of white maybe through some of these, make them stand out a bit more. Not thinking too much about where the shadows are, because when you've got the snow there, I'm going to use a bit of the dark grey. That green's not going to go any darker than that. So I can tickle a bit of the dark grey and or the black. Again, your choice, what colours you use, your choice in there. And that will help to darken the green. The more you press on with the colour, the stronger it will get. Right, I've gone too fat up there. So the more you press on, the stronger it will get. I've gone too fat up there, so what I'm going to do, rather than try to rub it out or cover it with pastel, I'm just going to use the blender on either side of that leaf to try and narrow it down. So I'm essentially pushing the background colours around to help narrow it down, just nudging background colours around. I've got a little bit of a kink off the white there, it's a bit thick, so I'm just going to use a blender. Lightly, I'm just tickling, see, and it sort of just nudges it, mixes it into the background colour on there. before I do much more at the bottom and on the leaves, I need to get some suggestions of snow on here. I want it to be quite loose piled up. So this is the white, as you can see I'm using it on its side. Just putting it on quite loosely, and I am only lightly touching that, just softening it in. The texture of the paper is actually going to help with the texture of the snow, so I don't really need to blend it too smooth. Just lightly softening all that in. There are areas on here where the grey is showing through. This is adding natural shadows. Some of these will have further back and some will bring forward a little bit. I think that one can come forward and sit nearer to us in this pile of snow. That green on my finger, rather than wipe this on a tissue now, I'm actually going to take it to the side. I'm going to use it. Now I can wipe my finger. So decide which ones you're going to bring down. Let's have... Ooh, you can stay there. You can stay there. Let's have you coming down a little bit. These are the two greens, dark green, light green. Just wipe it, blend it, and use what's on your finger to ground, anchor these leaves down. I can also add in like this, a little bit of green, just tickle it on. If you're not happy to do that, load your finger with colour that way, get some green from there, and you can use that to spread into there. I'm just going to add a few darker little bits to some of these to give them a little bit more oomph, make them stand out. And then the only time I ever tend to use a soft white is when I'm doing anything like snow, because it actually does go on really, really well. Or I want really nice white, say, in something like the Snowdrops. Let's put a couple of patches, maybe a bit in the leaves. Again, if it goes a little bit fat, I'm trying to lean over because of the camera and everything, so I've not got the same control, I'm afraid. I'm trying to stay out of the camera's way. And make sure that that comes across the front of some of these, and with this, if anything, all I'm doing is sort of pulling that bottom edge, so that it looks like it's coming out of the rest of the colours there. Just pulling that bottom edge rather than blending it all smooth, and just sort of dabbing it, pushing it into the paper and pulling that bottom edge, just to try and create varying shades of white. If you blend it all smooth, it just goes flat, but actually you want it to look like piles of snow. And there you have a quick sketch, Snowdrops, hopefully something that you can maybe follow along with and have a quick go at yourself.